The epistle reading for this morning is from 1 Corinthians 15, verses 35 through 38 and 42 through 50. But someone will ask, how are the dead raised? With what kind of body will they come? How foolish! What you sow does not come to life unless it dies. When you sow, you do not plant the body that will be, but just the seed, perhaps of wheat or of something else. But God gives it a body as he has determined, and to each kind of seed he gives its own body. So will it be with the resurrection of the dead. The body that is sown is perishable, but it is raised imperishable. It is sown in dishonor, it is raised in glory. It is sown in weakness, it is raised in power. It is sown in a natural body, it is raised a spiritual body. If there is a natural body, there is also a spiritual body. So it is written, the first man, Adam, became a living being. The last Adam, a life-giving spirit. The spiritual did not come first, but the natural, and after that the spiritual. The first man was of the dust of the earth, the second man was of heaven. As was the earthly man, so are those who are of the earth. And as is the heavenly man, so also are those who are of heaven. And just as we have borne the image of the earthly man, so shall we bear the image of the heavenly man. I declare to you, brothers and sisters, that flesh and blood cannot inherit the kingdom of God, nor does the perishable inherit the imperishable. The gospel reading today is from Luke, chapter 6, verses 27 through 38. But I say to you who hear, love your enemies, do good to those who hate you, bless those who curse you, pray for those who abuse you. To one who strikes you in the cheek, offer the other also. And from one who takes away your cloak, do not withhold your tunic either. Give to everyone who begs from you, and from one who takes away your goods, do not demand them back. And as you wish that others would do to you, do so to them. That's what he says. If you love those who love you, what benefit is that to you? For even sinners love those who love them. And if you do good to those who do good to you, what benefit is that to you? For even sinners do the same. And if you lend to those from whom you expect to receive, what credit is that to you? Even sinners lend to sinners to get back the same amount. But love your enemies and do good and lend, expecting nothing in return, and your reward will be great, and you will be sons of the Most High. For he is kind to the ungrateful and the evil. Be merciful, even as your Father is merciful. Judge not, and you will not be judged. Condemn not, and you will not be condemned. Forgive, and you will be forgiven. Give, and it will be given to you. Good measure, pressed down, shaken together, running over, will be put into your lap. For with the measure you use, it will be measured back to you.
You're done. That was we're getting some things together, and evidently I didn't print page 2. That's okay. Well, I'm just asking a question for you guys this morning. Do you remember way back, probably the year I think it was 2002, when Verizon started coming out with this brand of commercials? There you go. You know it, right? The little dark-haired guy, Paul Marcarelli, started this worldwide thing, right? Walked around, they would show him in crazy places. And the words were?
Can you hear me now?
And it was everywhere. Well, that was a stroke of genius, right? Because everybody from all walks of life were saying, can you hear me now? Well, it was an even more of a stroke of genius when, some years later, after that series ended for Verizon, he shows back up. Except for this time, he's with Sprint. And the way he presented the question was completely the same, but completely different. The inflection was on the word now. And when he said, Sprint is within 0.5% of the same coverage as Verizon and cheaper. Can you hear me now? And that is what prompted this lane to drive another way for cell phones. I mean, it really was a stroke of genius. And this morning, we're going to pick up right where we dropped off last week, but we're going to back up a little bit. We're going to back up to the woe to you part. We didn't really stick with the woe to yous last week because they weren't important. Really, that wasn't where we were going. But this week, the woe to you is something that Jesus stresses to the people because, remember, after they were gathered and after Jesus came down the mountainside, it said, for whoever heard him and came to see him were healed. And so now he has even ground to stand on, so to speak, even though they were on a plane, and even though that might be a play on words. But there were people in that crowd who came because they were hurting, because they were already full and they just were looking for more. You've heard the testimonies of people saying, I have everything I could possibly want, but there's more. And it's Jesus who gives it. So Jesus comes to this place and he offers the word consolation. I don't know if you saw it. Oh, you didn't see it. You saw it last week. And he says, those who are rich, you already have your consolation. Here's my opening term for you. Consolation is not just some parting gift. It's not. As a matter of fact, the word consolation in the Greek is paraklesis. Now, you are not nearly excited about paraklesis as I am. I can see it on your face. There we go. We're going to learn a little bit of Greek today, just a little bit. Here's what I want you to know. You can just come in, don't worry. Here's what I want you to know about that word paraklesis. It is the nature of, a byproduct of, the view of the paraclete. You're still not excited. Okay, let me help you a little bit more. So the paraclete is a word that is used in Scripture in the New Testament as a counselor, an advocate, a helper, someone that stands in for, that speaks for, as in a counselor or a lawyer. It's one that's called out to for support. It's one that's called out to for inspiration, for exhortation. I need someone to give me a lift. By the way, Miss, great job with that song. God, how many times have you heard me? God, I need you. That's calling on the paraclete. And what is returned is paraklesis. It's consolation. It's not just some parting gift. It's not just, oh, and by the way, here's your consolation. Here's your parting gift. No, it's not. It is your source of truth. It's your true source of assurance. It is your source of comfort when you need it. Now, surely there is some comfort whenever you say to somebody who just blew $100,000 because they thought they were right and walked away with a record player. Here's your consolation. Here's your comfort. I'm not sure how much of a comfort that is. But it means the same thing. But in Scripture it has great value. So, Jesus, seeing this throng and this multitude who is gathered before him now is ready to start church. Church is ready to begin because they're all healed. We know they're healed. We know that the impurities are driven out. And now that they have no excuse not to be able to hear what Jesus is about to say. And so remember, last week, and for those of you who weren't here, there was a moment where it said, and as he looked up at his disciples, as he fixed his eyes on his disciples, he started the Beatitudes, or the similitudes, as you know them. And he says this, but I tell you who hear, love your enemies. I mean, just as they were being read this morning, as you were reading them and as Missy was saying them, did some of those kind of make you a little uncomfortable? They do me, and I read them all the time. It's not easy to do what Jesus is saying. Like, not easy at all. And what he's saying whenever he says, love your enemies and do you hear me is, can you hear me now? Can you hear me now because you're healed? You don't have that same burden as you did whenever you came, whenever you flocked. But you were healed because I healed you. You were healed because you heard me. You were healed because you sought me. So, can you hear me now? It must have been a great E.F. Hutton moment. So those of you who hear me, what's he going to say? Now he says the hard part, like the part that really people have a hard time hearing. I'll do anything but that. Have you ever said that to yourself? Like, I'll do anything but that. God, don't tell me that you're telling me to. Yes, I am. For those of you who hear me, and the word hear is for those of you who are being discipled, for those who want to learn, for those who want to change, that kind of hearing. Not, I can hear everything, but I'm not listening. And God is saying, if you're listening, these are the things you do. Agapeo, love, just as presented. Love with no strings attached. Do because it was done for you. Love well. Love your enemies. And that word enemies comes from, the word enemies is ekthros. And ekthros is a portion of ektho. And ektho, not that you needed to know that, was hate. So ekthros is a byproduct of hate. And so he's saying, love your haters. Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now whenever people look at you or stand by or whisper about you and talk? Whenever you're supposed to be servicing them the same way you would service someone who has given you the gifts, more gifts than you could ever ask for. And I don't mean these gifts. I don't mean cars or clothes or money or that kind of security. I mean the gifts that God gives you, which is salvation. It's kind of hard to turn away from. Can you hear me now? Jesus is saying to them, can you hear me now when it's not about you, when you're not getting something, when I'm not healing you? Now you have to turn and do that, because Jesus reverses the backwards direction of this world. Absolutely reverses the direction of the world. And so whenever he does that, we know that there were three things that Jesus did last week. We identified him, and he went from town to town. He preached with power and authority, and he healed everyone who heard him. And so it is in those three things that we kind of talked about us going out and do the same thing. Oh, we can do the town-to-town thing, maybe, or work to work, or school to work, or kitchen to living room, or, wherever we go. We have to go with the same thing. We have to preach with power and authority. But how am I going to preach? You're saying to me, Carmen, I don't know. I don't know how to preach. Well, you do. You really do. You do. Hey, have you ever heard this phrase, actions speak? You do know it. So you can preach. So if I were to turn around and say to you, how do you like me now? You'd probably throw fruit if you had it. But you understand what I'm saying? You can preach. So I'm going to read you a passage from Leviticus 19. Jesus did not come to change a direction that was foreign. He came to bring them back to where they were supposed to go. And this is from Leviticus 19. I like Leviticus because it sounds cool. That's not true. I like it because God said it. So this is where you would take your little Nito section that says things I heard in church today, and cross out P's and put this down. Speak to the entire assembly of Israel and say to them, this is God saying to Moses what to say. Be holy because I, the Lord your God, am holy. Each of you must respect his mother and father, and you must observe my Sabbaths. I am the Lord your God. Do not turn to idols or make gods of cast metal for yourselves. I am the Lord your God. When you sacrifice a fellowship offering to the Lord, sacrifice it in such a way that it will be accepted on your behalf. There you go. When you reap the harvest of your land, do not reap to the very edges of your field or gather the gleaning of your harvest. Do not go over your vineyard a second time or pick up the grapes that have fallen. Leave them for the poor and the alien. I am the Lord your God. He's saying they're not yours. They belong to the people who are unable to have what you have. And what you have, you're to leave for them. Do not steal. Do not lie. Do not deceive one another. Do not swear falsely by my name, and so profane the name of the Lord your God. I am the Lord. Do not defraud your neighbor or rob him. Do not hold back the wages of a hired man overnight. Do not curse the deaf or put a stumbling block in front of the blind. But fear your God. I am the Lord. Do not put a stumbling block in front of the blind. There are the church, there are people that can't see the right way to go. But by our actions, not so much by our words sometimes, but by our actions, we are blocking them from getting to God who they're desperately crying out for. Do you see what I'm saying? Jesus isn't changing anything. He's restoring things the very same way he did whenever he would heal someone, whenever he would restore their sight or restore their limbs. He wasn't making the abnormal, he wasn't making this not abnormal. A miracle was restoration. It was making it normal again. And he's telling these people, hey, this is a reversal in do. And then he says, I'm going to do it through you. Because now you know the truth. You know the very things that I'm telling you you need to do so that you understand. So then he says to them, this is what you got to do. So this is what we have to do. The do, the verb, the love. Because love's a verb. Therefore, your actions are speaking louder than your words. This week I caught a snippet of Chuck Swindoll's message. I love Chuck Swindoll. He's like just so good for me. And he was talking about some things about restaurateurs that, because restauranting is a tough business. That just happened to fit, honestly. I didn't say, oh, good, let me talk about that this week. Did not. Imagine that. So, what things are your biggest issue? Well, they had a bunch of things, but the things for the employees, you'll never believe this. Oh, you might believe this. Nick, you'll believe this. Is that whenever Christian crowds come in, the employees are like, ah. Now, not because they believe in Jesus.